I finally finished the Monster Hunter Wild Story campaign. I finally finished it, and you know what? I really enjoyed it. I liked it a lot. A lot of people who played Monster Hunter Wilds did not like the story campaign. They thought it was too linear, they thought it held your hand too much. A lot of people called it like an overly long tutorial or something. And yeah, I agree, it's a little linear. I don't know about calling it a tutorial. I actually liked the story in Monster Hunter Wilds. I liked the story campaign. I finally reached the end of that after about maybe almost 30 hours. Because I was kind of moving through it slowly. I didn't have a ton of time to play it all the time, so I kind of moved through it slowly. But I finally got to the end of that, rolled the credits, and I actually like the story. I like the narrative. I know Monster Hunter is not usually known for having a narrative, and honestly, it's funny because that's one of the things I actually really liked about Monster Hunter World. Being my first Monster Hunter game, it was really refreshing to play a big RPG in a fictional world where you're fighting big monsters and these big bosses and finding getting cool gear and weapons and stuff, but there's no dramatic plot. There's no save the world plot. It's more like almost like a job simulator. It's like you were just going to work. These hunters just had a job to do, preserving this ecosystem and doing this stuff and hunting these monsters to like keep the population of creatures in line. And I was like, this is cool. This is refreshing. It's not like, oh, you've got an evil villain to fight or something. It's just, no. These guys are just monster hunters. Their job just happens to be incredibly dangerous and thrilling, but it is almost like a job simulator. It really was. And I really liked that about World. There was very little narrative. There was very little like story. It was just, it really did feel more like, you were employed to do this job with this guild of monster hunters. So then you get to Wilds, and yeah, you would think having a more linear, focused, tight narrative before you get to the more open-ended stuff in the high rank, you would think that would be off-putting to me, especially as somebody who came into Monster Hunter with World and really fell in love with how like narrative free that game was and how it really let the gameplay and the mechanics and that the feel of that world and you as a hunter, it let that speak for itself and didn't need a story per se. But truth be told, I think Wilds handles it really well, with maybe just a minor misstep that I'll get to. But I really think it handles it well because I like the idea of getting a different perspective on the hunters. We're seeing them from a different perspective. We're seeing them from the perspective of this child, this character, Nada, whose village has been attacked by a monster called the Arkveld. It's the flagship monster of Monster Hunter Wilds. And I like the idea of like, oh, this monster, this rampaging monster, this kid doesn't know like anything about monsters. He doesn't have the knowledge and the expertise. He's just this village boy. He doesn't have the expertise that these hunters have. And it's like, for the first time, at least in my experience with Monster Hunter, it's really kind of refreshing to, after putting so many hours into World, of seeing like these hunters from a different perspective. And like, oh, now they're almost like heroes because they're helping this kid, and they're helping not only helping him get back to his village, but helping him better understand the monsters in general. And like they're teaching him throughout the game to respect the monsters more and not necessarily fear them, because they are basically animals. They are part of this ecosystem that's very complex. And all of that was really cool. I thought like this kid has an arc. He has a story arc, and the arc is actually an interesting one. And it's still not being overly dramatic or shoehorning any bullshit into the plot or forced villain bullshit or anything like that. It's still about, this ecosystem, this natural world, and how these characters interact with it. And even the different villages you go to and the different cultures you meet along the way in the campaign, I thought that stuff was cool. Yeah, there's not a lot of hunting in between those battles that you encounter because it's a much more like deliberate and linear narrative that's kind of forcing you along from battle to battle to battle. It's really more like a series of boss fights there's not as much of the procedural hunting stuff in the campaign as there is. Like, you still have optional hunts in between the battles, but they don't feel as necessary for the campaign. I was able to do very little of that and still make it through to the end for the most part. Not that I found it too easy. I still thought it was pretty challenging at times, but um, it was good. Like, it was engaging to me, even though it stripped back a lot of the more procedural Monster Hunter stuff. Now, the one area where I think the campaign stumbles actually is towards the end of the story. Spoilers, if you haven't played the game before, I'm going to spoil some story shit. There is a point towards the end where they introduce the Guardians, these manufactured monsters, and you find out, oh, Nada's village created the monster that attacked the village. They created Arkveld. They're these, they're an ancient people called the Wyverians or whatever that like created these manufactured monsters that don't reproduce, they don't need to eat, they're just like almost like clones. And that's where it got a little weird to me, because then we are forcing some drama into the plot that didn't need to be there, where all of a sudden it gets to a point where like there's a scene in the game where suddenly this boy is confronted with, oh, my village and my people created this monster. Now I don't know who's worse, the monster or the people, us. This monster just wants to be free. He was manufactured, and that's why he bugged out. And it's like, oh no, don't do that. Don't force that shit into this game. Because that it just feels like we're in a different game, kind of. Like, Monster Hunter, to me, even in Wilds, the story feels so natural for so much of it. And it is only at that point, towards the end, that with that plot twist, that I'm like, ah, oh, why couldn't they just be a normal village? Why couldn't this Arkveld just be an ancient dragon from some other time? Maybe the last of his race or something. Why do we have to go into this weird, oh, man is trying to play God and look what happened, and don't put that in Monster Hunter. It's like that felt a little eye-rolling. That felt a little like trying to cram an extra theme into a game that didn't really need that theme, because really Nada's arc is all this story needed. His arc of getting a better understanding of monsters and respect for them and the hunters and what they do, that's all you really needed. And fortunately, the reason why I'm able to forgive the game for that plot twist is because luckily it doesn't have much effect on the rest of the story. It comes pretty close to the end. It doesn't really go anywhere. They still end up having to slay Arkveld. They still end up seeing that as the right thing to do, to stop his rampaging, and it doesn't really go much farther than that. Like, ultimately, the big takeaway at the climax of the game, which is very uplifting and very nice, is that Nada does become a hunter in training at the end of the game, and he does learn to respect nature more and the monsters, and he looks up to these other hunters, and that's cool. That's actually a cool message to end on, and it's a cool, especially for people who, if this is their first Monster Hunter, they'll probably identify with Nada really closely, because he himself becomes a Monster Hunter in training by the end, and it's like, you're not playing as him, but, it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool that he represents an outsider to this world and to these hunters and their profession. So I kind of like how it kind of taps into the heart of Monster Hunter, like, and what it's all about by the end. It does have a good ending, but that one twist, even though it doesn't overstay its welcome, they don't linger on it very long, it felt a little like eye-rolling. It just felt like, oh, we didn't need this Guardian plot. I think it would have been much better if there were no manufactured monsters and Nada's village was just a normal village. Like, I would have been fine with that. He didn't need to be this destined kid who's trying to, like, make up for his ancestors' sins or anything. We don't need that. It's like, you don't need that kind of melodrama in a Monster Hunter game. But otherwise, other than that one little bit, I really like the story, because before that, and luckily after that, everything else about the game's plot is very, like, simple, very down-to-earth, very much just about, monster hunting, and this kid just providing a different perspective than we've had in past games, and, particularly Monster Hunter World, which, was just about the guild doing what the guild does, the hunting monsters. So, like, it was refreshing to me. funny enough, refreshing because I started with World, that it was like, oh, we actually have a story now. And I love the way the game integrates your character into it. Not only do you have a voice, whether you pick male or female or whatever, you have a voice, you have a character that looks great no matter, how you created them. In every cutscene, in every moment of dialogue or interaction, your character just looks so cool in everything they do. Um, like, I've seen a lot of games try to attempt making your created character in a campaign of some kind or in an RPG of some kind, make that character feel like a natural part of the plot and the world, but no game I've ever played does it as well as Wilds. I just have to bring that up again. I brought it up before, but yeah, like, that's such a selling point to me with this game. I just love the way they handle that. It's not like your character is like the main character. Really, it is about Nada and his arc. But like the way they integrate your character as a professional hunter into the story just feels really cool. Like I like it a lot. Um, so yeah, that's my thoughts on Monster Hunter Wild story campaign. I will say, as far as the gameplay goes, I love the new focus mode. I love that new focus mechanic. I love. Some people say it makes the game too easy. I say it adds another layer to the combat. I say it makes it more fun. Yeah. Maybe it does take away some of the challenge because battles don't always last as long as maybe they did in World, but I also think they're more engaging and more fun because you feel like you have more of these like smaller goals to shoot for while you're fighting a monster. You can go for these weak points and you can unleash these incredibly damaging attacks, and like you get rewarded for that. It's not just the end goal anymore of just finally kill the monster. It's like the battles feel like they have more layers to them. I don't know. I really enjoy it. All the new monsters that I saw were really awesome. The campaign is mostly filled with new monsters to me because I don't know how many of them were from previous games, but I only saw like maybe 2 from World. So like it was really cool seeing so many new monsters that I didn't see in World. When I finally fought a freaking Rathalos in the campaign, I was like, holy shit, I remember him. It was kind of crazy. But all the new designs are really cool. I look forward to fighting even more of them, because I'm sure there's a lot more of them to discover in the post-game, in the high rank stuff after the story campaign is over, which I'm really looking forward to now. I guess I'll have more thoughts on that stuff, that side of the game, when I get through all that, which will be a while. But yeah, even just the story campaign, which I know it's gotten a lot of hate. A lot of people have hated on the story campaign. A lot of people have hated on this part of the game, saying, get through it as fast as you can. It's terrible. It's the worst. The real game doesn't begin until after that. And it's like, well, okay. I mean, if the real game is that much better than the campaign, then I'm in for a treat, because I really liked the campaign. I mean, yes, it is kind of linear. It does keep you on a relatively tight leash. Hell, there's one point in the campaign, actually, that I forgot to mention, where you fight 2 monsters back to back. You fight one, and then you immediately get a cutscene where you fight another. And I actually was a little concerned about that when it first happened. I was like, game, what the fuck are we doing? I didn't even have a chance to eat again. But it was manageable. It was surprisingly manageable. I still managed to kick ass, and I was like, okay, they were 2 awesome boss fights back to back. Like, I can't complain because I had a great time with both battles, even though I feel like in World, that would have been overwhelming. So maybe that does say something about, like, yeah, I do think the monsters are more manageable this time. Maybe the fights definitely don't feel as long, as crazy long as some of the fights could be in World, but still, man, it was a little crazy fighting back to back. But I was like, okay, it's kind of cool, because on the other hand, yeah, the campaign is paced really well. You're constantly getting new battles, and there you still have. I know people were upset that they didn't have a grand hub when the game was launched. But even before that was added, I still like the fact that you have these, like, smaller base camps or villages or like areas to stop before you get to the next thing, because it was kind of cool. Again, different from World in some respects, because in World you mostly are going back to the same hub over and over. And now they did add that back to Wilds, so you get the best of both worlds. But yeah, I can't wait to play more Monster Hunter Wilds. It's a fantastic game. It's a great game. It's been surprisingly polarizing. Some people really didn't like it at all, even the high rank stuff. Some people have really shitted on this game, even people who loved World. And I don't understand it, because even in the supposedly bad part of the game that I just finished, it's already one of my favorite things that I've played on my PS5 so far. So, I don't know. Can't please everybody. But anyway, I love it. You guys, you get to burning and live for the passion. Bye.